Hello, coaches. I'm Brighton West with Invite Change. And today we are starting a brand new series for you. And it is coaches who have changed to become a coach mid-career. So instead of starting out, fresh when they were young, saying like, coaching is the thing for me, I'm going to do this. Somewhere along the line, they were building a career somewhere else, probably turning into executives and whatnot, and decided to change a little bit and to become a coach. And so today we have someone very exciting. His name is Brian Powell. He's a PCC, and he is here, and he's going to share his journey from where he was before becoming a coach to where he is now, and also a little bit further ahead after that. So let's bring Brian on and have him introduce himself. So Brian, what I want you to do actually is I want you to start out and tell us the kind of who you are, but also what was your first experience with coaching? So where was the seed planted that brought you to where you are now?
Thank you, Brighton. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. I think when we first started putting this together and thinking about my coaching journey, it's been something of a challenge when I first started in this industry. So when I think back, I started as a leader in the financial services industry, was a branch manager, regional manager, and found myself at Wells Fargo Advisors, leading a large team of about 300 with 12 direct reports, I think sales, service, operations, forecasting. What happened, I was actually given a coach at one point. And I wasn't given a coach to really enhance my skills. It was more about they wanted to fix me. So the rest of the executive team was more in that high I personality style where I'm a high D. So, when I talk to individuals, 99 out of 100 on the D scale. So it was really given to me and introduced as giving me a coach as a leader, more about fixing me to kind of fit the mold rather than really thinking about bringing out my strengths and the things that really could be applied in that way to help the team accelerate, really, when you think about that diversity of thought.
So you're at Wells Fargo. They think they need to fix you. So the right thing to do there is to hire a coach. Was this an ICF certified coach? And let's talk about what that coaching looked like. Did the coach come in to fix you, or did they were they more of a coach?
Yeah, great question. So I did not even know about the ICF before I started getting into coaching. So this coach was not ICF certified, however, made just a huge impact on my life. So as the executive board had told about really trying to fix me into that mold, this coach came in and really started to understand who I was, what we wanted to drive towards, and really focus on the strengths and opportunities that I had as a leader. So it really was impactful. And then that started my journey down becoming a coach, just from that interaction that I had with that previous coach at Wells Fargo.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing that. Glad that the coach understood coaching. I mean, there is kind of that continuum, I guess, of people who are ICF certified, maybe like MCCs who know exactly what to do with coaching, down to the person who really doesn't have any training, who just said, okay, well, I'm a coach. So there was somewhere in between. So that's good. So maybe you could take the next step forward in your journey to where you are as an internal coach, but you also do external coaching. So we're going to be talking about both of those, mostly internal. That seems to be the biggest part of your journey. But what was your next step forward towards becoming an internal coach?
Yeah, it was sort of by accident, right? So I'd always loved coaching my team as a leader. Something I was very passionate about. So those weekly one-on-ones, really making sure that they could reach their full potential. And then the opportunity came up when I was at Wells Fargo, where we decided to open up a leadership executive coaching department. Jumped at the opportunity, jumped at the chance, applied for that role, went through several stages, and really got the job and thought this is what I really want to do, was passionate about it. And quite honestly, Brighton, I thought going into it, I'll be a rock star at this. I've been coaching for 20 years with all my teams, with all that previous experience. But I was humbled real quick. So as I entered into coaching, the whole team found that we really didn't know what we didn't know. And so that's when I started to explore different opportunities, such as International Coaching Federation and getting certified through that organization. Previous to that, had no idea the organization even existed.
Yeah, well, how long ago was that when this was just starting at Wells Fargo?
About 9-10 years ago now.
Okay. So the ICF had been around for 15 years, but still a lot of people, a huge amount of people still don't know that ICF exists, or that there can be ICF accredited or trained coaches. So, okay, so you now know that the ICF exists. You're part of a big group of people that's essentially going to bring coaching to Wells Fargo, to the entire organization of Wells Fargo, to all their executives. And so now you know that ICF exists, and your team of, I think you said 8 or 12. What was your next step?
Yeah, so we started to seek out different schools. So once we really understood that, I mentioned being humbled real quick, that we needed to get some training, we interviewed about 5 different accredited schools. And that's where our journey led us to Invite Change. So met with Invite Change and had a great reputation out there. Once again, really thinking about how do you elevate your coaching within an organization. And then 8 of us went through the training all together in a cohort to go through our first ACC.
Okay, wonderful. So you're at Invite Change, which is, of course, a wonderful organization to do your coach training with. So how did that go? I mean, you had lots of experience coaching your internal team. What was it like to then meet with someone who's an MCC, someone who really knows coaching?
Yeah, you bring a smile to my face, Brighton, when you mention that, right? So I think back to that first experience, and I actually wrote an article. It's called "Are You a Whiteboard Coach?" The reason I say that is we do a learning lab together every single week as we came back as a team and we were growing our skill set. And when it was my turn, I actually prepared ahead of time by going to the whiteboard and scripting out the questions that I was going to ask when I showed up to the learning lab. And I remember Janet asking me afterwards, Brian, how do you feel you did? And quite honestly, Brian, I thought I'd knocked out of the park. I'd hit every question that I had up on my board. I thought through it, and then really thinking about like what that looked like. And Janet really had that conversation of let's have a talk. Let's talk about what true coaching is. And so, really working with ICF credentialing through Invite Change to really have my understanding of coaching versus consulting.
Wonderful. And that is Janet Harvey, the head of Invite Change that you got to meet with. It's really great to meet with those high-level people. Janet's been in coaching since the beginning of the ICF. She's been very involved at the international level. So you went through your ACC training, your whole team did, and Janet clearly was a big influence on you. Anyone else that was an influence on your coaching or your career?
Yeah, it's the thing, Brandon, I love about the coaching community. So when I first started on that journey, not only did I have now Janet as a mentor, along with all the Invite Change coaches, but I reached out to several others. So Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, reached out to him through email. We've had some communications and spent some time with him training, certified in all his processes in terms of stakeholder coaching, 360 assessments, leadership training. And then also another dear friend, John Mattone. John used to coach Steve Jobs, Roger Enrico at Pepsi, and he has an organization called Intelligent Leadership. And so I reached out when I first became a coach, and I told that story about being humbled real quick. If I wanted to show up and be able to be the best version of myself for the clients that I supported, I want to make sure to do it right. So sought out a couple of mentors, spent a lot of time with them, and really proud to say they're still good friends that we talk quite often.
Great. And so are those paid mentorships? I mean, these are some of the top people in the coaching world. How does one even make that happen?
Yeah, I talked a little bit earlier about being a high D and really wanted to make sure that we were doing this right. So I had reached out proactively to both individuals and really came across with John the first time we had met. It was going to be more of a paid engagement. Hey, I flew out to Orlando. We were going to spend a few days together. He's going to walk me through the certification of all his different processes that he had as well. We spent the first day together, and then we decided that, hey, this wasn't going to be a paid engagement, that this was something that he was really going to invest the time because he saw that I wanted to invest the time and really help these leaders become the best versions of themselves. So, it started out in one of those instances as possibly a paid engagement or a paid mentorship. But once again, knowing the coaches that are out here in the community, it was really about supporting myself as much as I was supporting him, learning from a different lens as well.
Great. And you mentioned the term mentor, which I think having mentors is a wonderful thing. And you got some of the top mentors in the industry to work with you, which is wonderful. But I want to make the distinction here that we're not talking about mentor coaching, which is kind of like what I think of as mentoring with a capital M. Mentor coaching is if anyone's involved in the ICF and going through the process of getting their ACC or their PCC, they're familiar with the mentor coaching. It's a process that evaluates your progress as a coach and helps you with that process. So a mentor, this is something a little different. Yeah, why don't you just tell us what do you see? What is the definition of a mentor with a small m?
Yeah, so there's a couple things that resonate with me. So when we were talking about reaching out and finding mentors, so I really looked at them as the experts. So Dr. Marshall Goldsmith had written all these books, had been coaching for decades. Same thing with John Mattone, coached all these great leaders. They were really looked at as the expert. And so I was there to really learn from them, get curious, ask a lot of questions. Now those relationships evolved over time to, once again, where we just became peers, more of coach to coach conversations. And once again, those still apply to this day. I think the question when you think about mentor coaching, I had confusion when I first came in. As I mentioned, I didn't know that the ICF first existed when I got into becoming a professional coach. And what I've learned about mentor coaching is much different, where that mentor coach is not looked at as the expert. That person is more of a thought partner to help that other coach really become the best versions of themselves. So how can they help them with other opportunities, blind spots, things that they really want to dedicate time towards, so that when they show up as a coach, they can make sure that they're given the best that they can to help their clients succeed as well.
Great. Thank you for laying out that distinction. So let's continue forward with your journey. Are you still at Wells Fargo, or are you somewhere else now?
I'm not. I've taken a couple turns in my career. So I've always looked for new engagements, and I did spend a couple years at Merrill Lynch as well. As a director there, and worked all out here on the West Coast. And then I spent some time over at a telecommunications company, Crown Castle, as an executive leadership and team coach, before I now have the current role that I'm at, where I'm working at a large asset management firm, and really working across the country, actually some global assignments as well.
Great. So since you kind of built the Wells Fargo internal coaching team, you've since moved on to be an internal coach at other organizations, it sounds like, and really to be at the top of some of those teams. So also, though, you do a little coaching on the side. This seems to be something that I know a lot of the Invite Change people, they work for Invite Change, but they kind of have their own thing going on. So what's your own thing look like?
Yeah, so I have an organization called Executive Coaching Space. So when I first started that about 4 or 5 years ago, it was really to dedicate time to, once again, leadership and teams. I'm very passionate about helping teams, that whole system, to achieve the goals, how they communicate effectively together, how they're able to build out things that are going to be important for them to raise their level, raise their performance, raise their game. So spend a lot of time there. And then also, one thing I've learned about the coaching community, we love to give back. So I spent a lot of time in nonprofits. So coach a lot of nonprofit executive teams, middle managers, emerging managers. What I've learned about nonprofits is that it's not about the paycheck, it's about the passion, the cause, which really connects with my values. So I do a lot of pro bono engagements when it comes to nonprofits as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you for doing that and being part of that. And I think that takes us into kind of a little bit of what your future holds. So as the people are viewing this, I want to go through your whole transformation also, and we're going to get some tips before the end, but let's continue that transformation into where you see yourself going next.
Yeah, I think right now it's been fantastic to look back on the last 9-10 years. Once again, I always say this profession found me. I didn't go seeking it, but it's something that I've become very passionate about. And the one thing I've learned about in this profession, that there is no finish line. So continue to grow that skill set and go from, once again, individual coaching to now to a point where we're coaching teams, we're coaching entire leadership, executive teams, really working with them together so that they can really hear the message, understand each other, and contract together in a certain way so that they can really reach their goals, either quantitatively and qualitatively, which sometimes gets left off the table. I think also I've become a global ambassador for the ICF Ignite program this year. So I was honored that I was actually mentioned in that and represented, and now a part of that team. So there's 8 of us across the globe that are actually spreading the word around nonprofit pro bono coaching programs that can be set up. And we partner and assist all the ICF chapters and really making sure they can launch a program for their coaches, their community, and then once again, these nonprofits that really give back to where we work and live. So when you ask me that question, that phrase of there is no finish line really resonates as I continue to grow my skill set, really think about what that next iteration of coaching is moving forward, and always trying to be learning and growing, whether it's, the coaches that I work with through the ICF chapters, through the board that I sit on, or, Invite Change has been a great resource for me. I think I've just completed my 6th or 7th course over the last 9-10 years with Invite Change, and really the coaches that I've gotten to interact with that I probably would have not have met had I not taken those courses has been another thing to really attribute to my growth and development as a coach.
Great. As you were saying all this, like little things were pinging into my head about the cohort and how amazing that is, and ICF and how much it has evolved over time and how it's changed kind of from coach training to coach education, the L1, L2, L3. Sometimes confusing, but really great. Did you by any chance get to the last convention down in Orlando? I know that convention just happened recently. A lot of Invite Change people just came back from that.
I did. It was my first time, Brighton. I had not been to a Converge event in the past. And so I made it down there over to Orlando. I actually got to meet the Janet and the whole Invite Change team that was there in person. So almost after a decade virtual connection, we actually got to meet in person. So that was fantastic. And then, as I was mentioning, be a part of the ICF Foundation, the global ambassadors. A lot of my different peers on that team were there as well as present. So, some individuals from Malaysia, some from South America, some from India. So, it was a fantastic way for us to all get together, spend a few days, share some of our thoughts and ideas moving forward as well to affect, once again, all these great coaches throughout the globe. But then, like I said, it was a special moment to be able to see, Janet and Sarah and everybody on the Invite Change team in person after all these years.
Yeah, I always forget that Invite Change has been a virtual training organization for many, many years before everyone else switched to virtual during the pandemic. So this is old hat for them, but it is so wonderful to get together. I've been to a number of Converges myself, and it is wonderful because you have such a powerful group of people. They happen every 2 years, I think, at the international level, but there are also regional meetups. And I also work some with the Oregon chapter, and I know they have a big pro bono arm, and doing pro bono is a great way to get your coaching hours up. I know there's a limit to how much can be pro bono, but it is a great way to work with your chapter locally to get your hours up if you're looking to become an ACC or a PCC or whatnot. So lots of great options with pro bono. And I want you to give a tip to the audience. But first, before that, I want you to tell people, is it okay if people contact you? And if so, how would they do that?
Oh, Brighton, absolutely. I think, when I think about, once again, my journey and the coaches that have really given their input, their time to help me elevate my performance as a coach and my learning and growth, I always want to make sure that I'm available. So whether it's through LinkedIn, you can look up my profile on there. It has my contact info, email information. Please feel free. If you ever want to have a question, you want to brainstorm together, you want to knock around a few ideas, please send me a note and I'll respond as soon as I possibly can.
Awesome. Well, that is extremely generous of you, because I didn't expect that. I really expected kind of like, oh yeah, contact me on LinkedIn. I actually had an answer ready for you guys in the audience, that if you really want to learn about coaching and coaching schools and have any questions that are very specific about the educational side of things, Lori Johnson with Invite Change, this is what she does all day long, is she talks with either coaches who are looking to elevate their coaching skills or enter into the world of coaching. So I'm going to have Brian's LinkedIn information down in the description area, but also a link to connect with Lori if you have any kind of training specific questions for her. She is great at answering all those. That's, like I said, that's her job. That's what she does. So let's go back to Brian before we wrap this up. Let's get that final piece there, which is that piece of advice that you have for young coaches or coaches who are working on growing, expanding, maybe internal, maybe external. What's your one tip?
Yeah, right. When I think back, when I first got into coaching, I mentioned my experience and that coach that resonated with me, or the mentors that I worked with. I think when I first got in, I felt like I wanted to duplicate, what they do. And I really wanted to think about, like, how do I become that person, right? How do I become Marshall Goldsmith? And what I had to really learn was, how do I really show up as my authentic self? And so if I'm thinking of a new coach coming into the industry, there's a lot of things to learn. There can be some emotions that get involved with anxiety or frustration, really thinking through, like, how do I connect with my clients? And, the one tip I would give is just, be okay to fail. Be okay to be yourself. Come in, learn, grow, be authentic. And I think instead of trying to replicate what somebody else does, if you can really find your unique voice and what you bring to coaching. I say it this way. A lot of people that I meet with is that I feel coaching now is an art form. And every coach, if they can find their authentic self, paints differently. And so if I walk into a museum, I can appreciate different artists the same way as I can appreciate different coaches, once again, if they show up as their truly authentic self. So when you ask me that tip, make sure that you can grow your confidence, grow your knowledge, but really show up and be the best version of yourself, not somebody else.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Brian. I really love that, the idea of coaching as art, but as coaches as artists. At the ICF Oregon meetings, I've seen quite a number of people coach from the ACC level to the MCC level, and it really is so different. And as I've seen also with mentor coaches, that it's not necessarily one coach does things the right way. There are many choice points and you can flow in different directions, and each coach has their own flow. So speaking about those coaches who are flowing, up here, I've got some videos of coaches coaching with mentor coaches watching and giving comments. So if you're a coach and want to watch that video is going to be available up here. And if we've got more available in this series about switching to a coach mid-career, you'll find that down here. Thank you for watching. And Brian, thank you so much for being our first guest.
Yeah, it was such a pleasure, Brighton. And I look forward to connecting with all those current coaches and future coaches as well.